open to everyone age 16 and up. We envision a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. I do want to let you know that outside at our League of Women Voters table, we do have a number of important pieces of information, including information on when early voting occurs and where those locations are. We have a 2025 general election information card, as well as our They Represent You guide, which includes written statements directly from each of the candidates. Elected officials, thank you. The ground rules for today's candidates forum are as follows. The League of Women Voters in Buffalo, Niagara will not permit substitutes for candidates at debates or forums conducted by the League. A candidate must be present at a forum conducted by the League to present his or her statement or to display campaign literature. If a candidate cannot attend the debate/forum, he or she may submit a brief statement that explains his or her absence to be read by myself, the moderator. There must be at least 2 candidates for each office present to conduct the forum. Sean Lavin notified us that he has a military obligation from October 16th through 19th, so he is unavailable to attend. It's my understanding that Jack Kavanaugh is present, but because we only have 1 candidate, we will not be taking statements from Mr. Kavanaugh today. However, there will be a candidate forum on October 23rd for Amherst Town Supervisor at the Student Union Theater on the UB North campus. That's 50 Lee Road at 6 p.m. So that's October 23rd at 6 p.m. for at the UB North campus. Everyone is welcome to attend that. Presentation should strictly be confined to issues and not personalities. Members of the audience are encouraged to submit questions in writing. If you need any additional cards or pencils, please raise your hand and a volunteer from the League will be able to get you additional paper or a new pencil. The questions we just ask that the questions relate to issues that relate to Erie County Controller, Erie County Legislator, and Amherst Town Council. Kate Wagner, raise your hand, and Sue Davidson, raise your hand. We'll collect your questions. Candidates drew numbers this morning to determine the order for opening statements and closing statements. And I believe that we actually need you guys to swap seats. Ms. Coyle, Lenz, you're going to need to be here because you're going to go first. Don't forget to change your name, please. Sorry about that. All right, election materials will not be permitted in the meeting room. A table outside the room has been provided for this purpose. The candidate forum will conclude approximately at 11 a.m. Deborah Schiffner will make the only authorized recording of this event. So I'm going to ask that anyone using cell phones, please do not make a recording. It is the rules of the League that the presentation is recorded by us in its entirety. Bear with me one moment. So again, we're going to ask that cell phones at this time are turned off. Keep them turned off throughout the event. We expect that the audience will be attentive and civil and make no response to what the candidates say, whether you agree or disagree with their views. We also request that you refrain from applause until the forum is complete. We seek to provide all candidates with the greatest amount of time to respond to their questions. So we don't want that time interrupted by applause. All right, our timekeeper, Miss Mary Egan, will raise a green paddle when the speaker has 1 minute left, a yellow paddle when there are 15 seconds left, and a red stop panel when time is over. The candidates are expected to stop when completing the sentence that is being spoken at the time. Opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Biographical sketches and a platform outline are usually presented. Each candidate shall have 2 minutes to respond to each question. If a candidate needs less time to respond, we will be able to ask more questions. So that means you don't have to use all 2 minutes. I will be asking written questions submitted by members of the audience. So please, if you can, work on your penmanship counts. It makes it easier for me to read the questions. And we do have one of our veteran league members, a former president, Terry Parks, who is screening the questions. We're screening them for vulgarity, profanity, appropriateness, and also redundancy. We want basically new, unique questions for each one that's being asked. And questions will be asked in a rotating order. So we will start with Ms. Coyle-Lenz, and then the second question will be started with Ms. Final. And closing statements, again, 2 minutes for the closing statement to summarize your thoughts, reiterate points brought forth during the meeting. This forum is designed to be a dialogue between the audience and the candidates. It is not a debate. All right. Finally, we're going to start with our candidates for Erie County Legislator, District 5. That would be Christina Coyle-Lenz and Jean Vinyl. I will be happy to repeat any question if you need me to do so when it's your turn to respond. It's important that each one uses only as much time as is needed to respond to the question so we can move to the next person without any introduction. I'll only repeat the question if asked. All right, opening statements. Ms. Coyle-Lenz.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to say thank you for hosting this to the League of Women Voters. This is absolutely a wonderful opportunity for all of us to connect with all of you. So I'm Christina Coyle-Lenz, and I am running for Erie County Legislature District 5. I'm a registered conservative, and I have both the conservative and the Republican endorsements for this role. Why am I running for Erie County Legislature? I am running because of the experiences that I've personally had with government as a citizen and a resident in Amherst. It hasn't always seemed and felt like our government has listened to us, and I would base this upon my experience of the decisions that I've witnessed our government make. And I'm not a politician. I'm coming to this role with a lot of background and transferable skills, which I will share with you. I spent a number of years of my career working in business-to-business sales and sales management. And while I was doing that, I earned an MBA part-time going to school at UB. This next chapter of my life, I worked as a consultant. And in those years, I earned a second degree, a Master's of Science in Creative Studies from Buffalo State. That led to me teaching part-time while I was doing this consulting work. And through my teaching experience, I was invited to step in and run an academic program in leadership and innovation. That really synthesized all of my skills up to that point in life, which is what I now bring to this role. I'm here to serve, and the purpose of my service is to be present for the community as a servant leader, prioritizing people over politics. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jean Vinyl, and I'm the current county legislator. I ran for the first time a few years ago, and I'm running for re-election. I wanted to tell you, as Christine Coyle-Lenz had told your background, I kind of had an interesting background. When my parents moved here from Boston before I was born, and they had 3 kids, 4, 2, and 1, and when my brother was 4, and one of our members here knew him at the time. Not at that time, but he got polio, and then 2 months later the vaccine came out. So he was paralyzed for a year, and then the quantities were so limited, my dad didn't take it, and then he ended up with polio in the hospital for 2 years. And the people of Buffalo, and he worked at Westinghouse as an electrical engineer, and all these people donated money. So every week, my mother had money for 2 years, and the second year they signed up to bring him back and forth. So my parents always said, no place like Buffalo is so generous and so good to people ever in the world. So we always feel beholden to give back at that time. So then my parents, anyway, I grew up with an unusual thing with like 6 kids in the family, a father in a wheelchair, and a small business in the house. So I brought that experience, and I did business-to-business sales to pay for my college, and to businesses like 10 to 20 employees type businesses. So that's how I got such a love of small business, growing up in one and marketing to them. But I am running for re-election because I am so optimistic about the future, and there's so many good things coming ahead, and because there's so many big issues coming ahead that are going to affect us all. I'm proud of our record in the county that every single year I've been in, we've lowered the tax rate, and it's now from $3.29 to $3.09, which is the lowest since the 1800s. And this year, the total tax thing raised by 1.5% for the whole thing, most of it, and 7 of those jobs that were created out of the 20 we're in Amherst, for Amherst, so, and I'm really interested in making sure we always get our fair share.
Thank you. Ms. Vinyl, you're going to begin this question. What makes you the best choice for the office you seek today?
Okay. Well, I do think that you have 2 good candidates. I'm not disputing that at all. We have 2 good candidates, and everyone who runs, I think, wants to serve and serve the public. I think that you're hiring a job, and in all due respect, I do believe I'm the better choice because of my education and experience, and before this, and because of the fact of the experience I've had in the last 5+ years, almost 6 years. That we have to be a partner in government. You have to work with government. There's really big things coming down the pike. One is whether or not to have a new jail. If people don't want a new jail, which I happen to be one of them, it's $400 million, just the existing cost, not anything else. That you have to have strong advocates against that. There has to be strong advocates. If you look at our total tax for our county tax is $331 million. The Sheriff's Department is $198 million. 62% of our total county tax, not county sales tax, goes to the Sheriff's Department. So you need, so many politicians are afraid to say anything against, at any time against public spending on public safety, so to speak, because of that fact. You need people who have courage, you need people who will be able to stand up, and I'm one of those people. My background as a lawyer helps me with that. I've always been on the side, I have had my own firm since '94, and been on the side of the underdog against the big, and successfully against the big thing. You need someone like that. And also I love to serve. I've reached out to so many organizations to try to help them, to see what they need. Some are here from the Lamppost is one, but there's so many that I've tried to work with to try to succeed. So I think I'm a friend in government who has the best experience for the job.
What makes you the best choice for the office you seek today?
Thank you.
I have years of experience in consulting, and in those years I worked with social impact organizations, helping them work through solving thorny problems. Government is a social impact organization, and as a leadership professional with my background in understanding creative process and innovation that leads to sustainable change, I think one of the things that we see in government at this time is a government that doesn't necessarily serve everyone. With respect to fighting for the underdog, I think we have to fight and advocate for absolutely everyone in our community, and I strive to be the voice of the people. One of the things that I've been doing and I'm continuing to do is I'm on a listening tour. I am out in our community, going door to door to homes and asking people questions about what their biggest concerns are with Erie County government. And this is an important dimension of understanding all the neighborhoods of tremendous wealth, as well as the neighborhoods that are more impoverished. And with that, I would say, they're all part of our community, and we need to represent them respectfully and in the very best way that we can, with all due respect. One of the skill sets that I bring to this role, which I believe makes me the absolute best candidate for this, is my experience, of course, leading, but also teaching. And when we're teaching in a classroom space, it's not a lot different than the community. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that the community members are aware of the most pressing issues. Because this is a time when news is diffused across many different platforms, and with that, we're educators. The other dimension of my background that is really important is working across differences. And those differences are broad and vast, and with that, it takes a skill set of understanding how conflict operationalizes and how it can be resolved with the greater good in mind.
Thank you. You're actually going to begin the next question, Ms. Quillens. The county distributes money to legislators for them to divide for worthwhile projects in their districts. Districts represented by the majority party receives more money than those represented by the minority party. Do you support continuing that? Why or why not?
Thank you. I do not support continuing the distribution of funds to the minority party at a higher level. Every resident in every district pays taxes, and there's absolutely no reason except for political party affiliation and control that practice would exist. So basically what that means is that if a legislator of the minority party is representing a given district, they're receiving funds that are at a lower level than the majority party, and that doesn't treat Erie County residents equally and equitably. If you look across the county, we're diverse. You know, we have economic diversity, socioeconomic diversity, we have cultural, religious, we have every measure of diversity right here in District 5. And when you look across the county, we have the same thing. And with that, I think it's incumbent upon leaders to look at the impact of policy. And the impact of a policy that takes and distributes funds with favor to one political party over another basically takes your tax dollars, our tax dollars, and it politicizes the use of those funds. Thank you.
I look at the role slightly differently. One of the people here said, I asked, like, do you think Amherst Town Board should go district by district or whole? And he made the good point that if he has it, no districts, that he made the good point that then he has all 4 people working for him as opposed to just 1 working for him. But the way ours is set up, that I am beholden to the people of District 5. And that is my primary job and will always be my primary job, of beholden to District 5. I went back through, when I started, all the last 10 years of budget and saw how underrepresented in money we were in Amherst. We paid for our own police, we paid for most of our own water, our own sewer. We paid, most of our roads are not county roads. We had no parks, so we are underfunded. So I really fought to get Amherst's fair share on that aspect. I do believe in always trying to do what's right, and I bucked the system on many times and gotten a change on it. But I do believe that my job is to get the most I can from Amherst. When I first came, I reached out to our town people and said, what are the biggest needs in Amherst? And one of the biggest needs was, there's this mainline sewer thing across all of 290, and it's filled up like 90-some% of the time. It's, or most of the time, it's 90-some% filled up all the time, and certain times more than that, totally stopped. And that's what causes a lot of backup all along Niagara Boulevard, all the neighborhoods there, and all the way down to Eggertsville and et cetera. Bottom line is so I asked polling cars, I said, hey, when we got the money from the money from the COVID monies, I said, Amherst should get our fair share. This project is $33 million, it needs to get done. Amherst will never have the money to do it because of the bonding caps. Couldn't you do it? Instead, we didn't get that, but that's how we got the $2.4 million on our side of it. And I do think that I will always fight to get the most for Amherst, I'm sorry to say. I always want to be equitable as far as I'm doing what's right and not doing anything immoral. I think every legislator's job is to do that. I'm the only one that gets, on the Democratic side, there's a city thing, and I make sure that Amherst gets a share of that, even though we're technically, that's how we started the math program and other things at schools in the area. So I'm always going to fight for the most money for Amherst.
Thank you. And I believe Ms. Vinal will start with this question. Everyone talks about transparency, wanting to be heard. Everyone talks about transparency and wanting to be heard. How will you make that happen, and what will it look like?
Well, one thing I've always done is give everybody my cell phone number, and certain people call. I've also reached out. And my one friend always says, like, why do you give your cell phone? Aren't you afraid people are going to call? It's like, no, I'm disappointed more people don't call. And the people that call, I try to help in any way that I can. And, honestly, potholes and rats are the biggest things, and I'm really good at both those two topics, but I can do more than just that, okay? But the other thing I wanted to do this year is to, whenever there's an issue, I reach out to the people that I think know most about that issue, but there's a few things coming down the pike. One is the jail, one is the sheriff, and one is NFTA, and one is the senior tax. So I want to try to reach out to more people to just have a little focus group to just get other ideas, because the group that I always reach out to like 10 people on different things. Even my opponent the first year, I reached out with her on everything related to restaurants, and we became good friends over it. And so anyway, I want to get people, I'm asking you here to help me this year by volunteering to be part of that discussion group, just to go over topics that are of really big money-wise and also important-wise for our county.
Everyone talks about transparency and wanting to be heard. How will you make that happen, and what will it look like?
Thank you. So transparency and listening are absolutely two pillars of what I will bring to this office. My campaign talks about leadership that listens, and that's what I'm already doing. I think a really important component that we need to have in this district is the presence of the legislator. And for me, the way that I will implement that is with office hours. Office hours across the town, and again, the geographic diversity of this district it's very broad and it's very expansive. Goes up as far as Willow Ridge area to the north, that Creekside area with the industrial park area at Creekside, and it goes as far south as 4 small election districts in Cheektowaga. It takes in Williamsville, it takes in Eggertsville, it takes in Snyder. I will hold office hours in each of those respective areas to be accessible to all of the individuals in the district. If I'm out in Willow Ridge and someone from Cheektowaga wants to come to see me, they're welcome. But the point that I make with that is that I absolutely need to be in the community, and I need to do this on a very regular basis. These will be scheduled, they will be publicized, and this is for the constituents, it's for the residents, so the people have a place to come to be heard, not just, with all due respect, a small group of 10 or a focus group of 20. This is for everyone. And I think to be accessible to everyone is absolutely the key to being present, listening, and then also transparency is our obligation. And when I'm present, I will be 100% transparent with all of the initiatives that we're working on. Government is owned by the people. We're here to serve, and when we're here to serve, it's to the benefit of our constituents.
Thank you. You're actually going to start the next question. How will the plans to combine the Erie County Holding Center and the Alden facility benefit the community or be detrimental to it?
Well, when you look at combining facilities, basically what you're looking at are economies of scale. I know that there is a study that is proposed that will be executed on this project, and I know that there has been a great deal of discussion about whether we need a new jail. At this point in time, the Erie County Holding Center has a limited amount of space because of some of the issues with the old structures there. And there's also a problem at the Erie County Holding Center right now with inmates that are not able to be transferred out to the state system because of some of the things that happened earlier this year with respect to the state system. we have to look at this in terms of the entire operational system. So what does it cost to consider the Erie County Holding Center and the Alden Correctional Space? What will that look like when they're combined, and how will this benefit the residents? Thank you.
This is I guess, a topic that we have a difference of opinion on. I think it's a really terrible idea. Even I reached out to one of our colleagues, Mills, who's like one of the people that have been there a long while, he's Republican. He agrees with me it's a terrible idea. The reason is number one is that we did, Pulling Cars did put money in for a study, and our vote is really up or down on most things, and so that was part of it. But the study said they would contact all constituencies, groups, and said, but they weren't from around here, and they didn't, like I said, I'm a lawyer, but I don't do criminal work, but one of the groups they didn't contact at all are any criminal defense groups organization. We pay for the criminal defense out of our money, so to have somebody, have people at the holding center is way less expensive to the lawyer to go there right next to court, transport, etc. To have everyone coming all the way from Alden, that's number one. Huge difference in the cost of legal representation. Second is that in time and accidents and everything else. Second thing is that the $4 million is to do a new thing there. There has never been, together they combine that they can accommodate like almost 1,500 people. They're not even over 1,000 at combined. And the final thing on it is that it is, there's no bus service to Alden, all the way to Alden. Okay, so and then we've asked NFTA, they won't do it. That's why I want to do some other things with NFTA. There's no bus service. So if somebody wants to visit, there's no bus service that goes all the way to Alden to the jail. So we're going to have a jail and a prison. They're two different things. A jail and a prison way out in Alden instead of downtown near the courts. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a huge expense. That doesn't even count the demolition of the others. And I would ask for people when we have public hearing to come out and really think about it, learn about it, and speak against it, because it's going to be a huge expense with real big problems on every aspect of it. And the other thing is I just want to say that our budget is what our priorities are. Are we wanting to put $400 million into imprisoning these people, or do we want to put money into other things that will lift people up?
Thank you. You're actually going to start the next question. Transportation is a regional resource that can impact the economy. What it looks like in terms of rail versus car traffic can impact how we use our community. What will you do to support or oppose the expansion of NFTA rail?
I am thinking that the NFTA rail won't be expanded just because of the federal dollars, but I also don't necessarily think that's the best idea. I think the best idea is bus. Those things were done when, a long time ago, and that the mall, like where Boulevard Mall was a huge economic boost at that moment. Now it's not. I want more flexibility. So many of our IDA investments over the last 20 years are in third-ring suburbs. So we need to have buses that go there. My idea for the NFTA is that we give over $40 million to the NFTA in mortgage tax and sales tax. There's no other county that shares with their transit on sales tax, only one other county, Niagara County, that shares on mortgage tax. I want to make it, instead of just giving this money to the NFTA, I want to make it so that to try to encourage ridership, to make it that the county is allowed to give passes to county residents from that money, up to $20 million of it, just to start. Not to change what NFTA bottom line gets, but to do that. And the reason why I think it's so important is one of the reasons why we do transportation, which Samantha White said, is to get people out of poverty into the middle class. Right now it's at $5 a day for a ticket, and if somebody has no income coming in, there's a myth that thinks that people on welfare get free bus passes. They don't. They only get a couple of tokens for a month. So how to get a job, how to keep a job for the first 2 weeks till you get your check. We need to make it accessible financially so people can use NFTA to get to and from work. And we need to require NFTA by doing this and putting that pressure. There's jobs in Alden, for example, and there's no bus that goes there during the work hours. It comes downtown in like a 1970s model. And so therefore we need to really work on NFTA, which is not an easy task because it's a public authority, not ours. So I'm working on a resolution. I have, again, with my guy Mills, who's the Republican, the most like, he's in favor of this too. So together we're working on this, and it's gonna be a real big hurdle to get that done.
Thank you. Sure. Transportation is a regional resource. What it looks like, car versus train, impacts how we use our community. What will you do to support or oppose the expansion of NFTA rail?
Thank you. So there was a hearing and a presentation and a public hearing at Sweet Home. I think it was Sweet Home Middle School, and that was maybe a couple of months ago. And it pertained to this expansion project with the rail. And I attended this and I listened, and it's definitely